To the law enforcement officers, my fellow prosecutors, judges, court personnel, and the entire law enforcement family that is gathered here today, let me start by saying thank you for your service and dedication to the people of Missouri and to the families of the fallen that we specifically honor today. Let me say how deeply sorry I am for your loss. There are no speeches, no words of consolation, no acts of sympathy that can fill the hole in your lives left by the death of your mother or father, sister or brother, son or daughter. There is no salve for the wounds of the heart. All of us know and accept the risks that come with a career in law enforcement. But blessedly few of us are ever faced with the stark choice between our duty and our lives. We grieve today for 9 of our own who recently faced that choice with dignity and dedication, and we honor their courage. Our program today includes a solemn roll call that spans the geography and history of our beloved Missouri. For over 175 years now, from 1836 to 2012, we have gathered to speak the names of 672 of our dearest friends for whom the end of the watch came too soon. To that honored list, we must now add the names of Deborah K. Collins, John B. Perry, Darrell A. Hall, Jefferson Taylor, Frederick F. Guthrie, Jr., Evan D. Burns, Jerry E. Hicks, George F. Ross, and William M. Mudd. I began my own career in law enforcement 17 years ago as prosecuting attorney in Cass County, just south of Kansas City. In my 10 years as prosecutor, I worked closely with police who investigated many of Kansas City's most notorious criminal cases, including the investigation and prosecution of serial killer John E. Robinson. During those years, I came face to face with the worst of mankind, but I also witnessed the courage and commitment of the women and men who stand between our families and the monsters of this world. Women and men like Deborah Collins and John Perry. We live in a cynical age these days, where it's far easier to gain notoriety through bravado and self-promotion than through bravery and self-sacrifice. Even for the righteous, it is easier to fight for one's beliefs than to live up to them. Yet even now, here, gathered today, there are men and women who are willing to lay down their lives in service for a higher calling. Men like Fred Guthrie and Evan Burns. I say calling because what you do, day in and day out, is not just a job or even a profession, but an answer to a prayer. When a stranded motorist on the shoulder of a deserted highway, when a victim of domestic abuse fears her husband's wrath, when a child goes missing from his bed, it's the men and women in blue who always answer the call for help. Men like Jefferson Taylor and George Ross. Those who enter law enforcement are charged with a simple yet solemn oath to preserve and defend the peace of our communities and the lives of our citizenry. There is no greater responsibility on this earth, and what greater proof of commitment to that oath could we ask than the sacrifice of the men and women that we honor today? Men like Jerry Hicks and Mick Mudd. Some may think it's trite to talk of heroes when remembering our fallen officers, or to extol the selflessness of men who run toward the sound of gunfire. Men like Darrell Hall. It was just a year ago last Sunday, while enjoying some much-deserved recreation with his girlfriend at a local nightclub, that Darrell heard the sound of gunfire out in the street. A police officer is never off duty, not really, and Darrell knew exactly what he had to do. He went outside, announced himself as a police officer, and ordered both gunmen to drop their weapons. The men began shooting, and Darrell was forced to return fire. He brought one of the gunmen down, but not before taking 3 bullets himself. Whenever I'm tempted to despair by the presence of evil in the world, by the deprivations of the wicked and the selfish, I remember that Daryl Hall left the comfort of friends, stepped out into a dark street, and put himself between a murderer and the people of Missouri. Officer Hall's sacrifice, and those of the other 8 that we honor today, is a reminder to all of us, that there is far more in man to admire than to despise. Indeed, I don't have to look any farther than those gathered here today to find cause for admiration. Being the husband, wife, son or daughter, father or mother of a police officer has its own special source of pride. But it also carries with it the possibility of terrible sorrow. When an officer gives her life in the service of others, the sacrifice is not hers alone. Everyone in this extended law enforcement family knows the ups or downs that police life can bring. Long hours, low pay, inconsistent shifts, and occasionally an ungrateful public. For the lucky, their sacrifice is just nights away from loved ones, or a weekend when mom or dad misses a game. For others, the sacrifice is a telephone call when you learn that your life is never going to be the same again. We gather today, this time every year, to link arms with the members of our family who have picked up that call. And we share with one another our best memories of those that we have lost. We honor not only their ultimate sacrifice, but also the vibrancy of the lives that they lived, the people that they loved, the children that they raised, and the decades of service that they rendered to our grateful community. As long as there are heroes, there will be widows and widowers. But with the support of our extended law enforcement family, those left behind will not only survive, you will thrive. Your memories of Deborah, John, Daryl, Jefferson, Fred, Evan, Jerry, George, and Mick will become the seeds of your future success. And when those successes come, as they will, this law enforcement family, our law enforcement family, will be there cheering you on every step of the way. Scripture tells us that the memory of the righteous is blessed. Indeed, that is the case with every one of the men and women we honor today. Because of their heroism, because of their righteous service, because of their love for their fellow Missourians, we commit their memories to our hearts and minds forever.
Detail. Attention. Hold arm. Half base. Move. Load. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire.